It is time for these Philadelphia Eagles wide receivers to grow. It's time for them to blossom. See what I did there? Time for them to grow. Yeah, Mike Owens is here. Jeremy Burton as well. I have no Eagles logo. I have no idea what happened to it. I think someone stole it. I don't know. But yeah, we're here live, and we're here to talk wide receivers coach. We're here to talk some wide receiver free agent rumors, whatever the hell you want to call them. But yeah, let's bring fellas on. How you guys doing?
Yeah, I mean, doing well. Feels good to be back. It kind of had a little bit of hiatus there. Went to the Eagles, were out of the playoffs. Not much happens, but it's starting to pick back up now with the guys down in Alabama for the, Senior Bowl and all that going on. So things are picking back up again, getting to hear from Joe Douglas and Howie Roseman and Doug Peterson again. So, some things are starting to happen. You had Joe Douglas and Howie Roseman on the radio the other day. So we're kind of starting to see how this team is going to develop really under Joe Douglas. It seems like he's going to have quite a large role here with this team. And, that's good news for Eagles fans. So, and then in regards to the new wide receiver coach, Greg Lewis has to feel pretty bad about himself because the Eagles kept everyone else on their staff except him. So he got the boot. So that means that he was just as bad as Nelson Aguilar last season.
Hey, I love the signing of, the hire of Mike Groh. I mean, he's got experience. One thing Greg Lewis didn't have, his first year wide receivers coach. Obviously, he didn't put the results out there. We had one receiver go for over 500 yards, and that was Jordan Matthews. The other, our leading receivers otherwise were Ertz and Sproles, among others. But, Groh has some experience dating back to his first wide receiver coaching position. I believe it was at Alabama the year Amari Cooper came out. He worked with, obviously, the Bears, Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall, and lately with the Rams, Kenny Britt and such. So, I think he'll bring in a new dynamic and experience to the staff and desperately help this receiver corps, which struggled a lot last year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree with the, he's a veteran presence now. And first of all, I don't even know why they brought in Greg Lewis to begin with. I get he's got the Eagles history and the ties and all that, but you're talking about a first-year head coach trying to teach Nelson Aguilar how to catch football, trying to teach DGB how to run routes, trying to teach Josh Huff not to stop smoking weed on the highway, and all these young guys that the Eagles have, and you're asking Greg Lewis to just fix everything. You need a veteran presence, and that's what Mike Groh brings to the table. Like Jeremy said, he used to coach Alshon Jeffrey 3 years in Chicago last year with the Rams. People want to give him credit for what Kenny Britt did. I think it's more because Kenny Britt was in a contract year and Kenny wants to get paid. I think that's what it is. I mean, how much of a difference does a wide receiver coach actually make? I think people are maybe going a little bit overboard with that. But yeah, Kenny Britt, whatever. All right, so now the question is this. Okay. So everybody's getting their panties up in a bunch. Okay, we hired Mike Groh. So that means Alshon Jeffrey is coming to Philly. Oh my God. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we got to hold our horses on that one. I really want to get, our hopes up for someone like Alshon Jeffrey or Pryor. I think that, those guys are going to demand a ton of money. I think that Pryor is going to end up staying with the Browns. I think they're going to give him the money. He's going to stay there. Then with Alshon Jeffrey now, he does have the history with Mike Groh, so that's possibly maybe a reason why the Eagles went out and brought him in because of that connection. But with Jeffrey, I think, when the season was still going on and there were some reports had surfaced that, possibly the Eagles would try to make a trade for Jeffrey. And at the time, it seemed like mostly everyone was, really excited about doing something like that and getting a guy like Alshon Jeffrey here. But, now that we really sit down and look at it, it really is going to depend on the money that Jeffrey demands because the Eagles really can't afford to go out and spend that much money on a wide receiver when they would be better off getting someone that's a veteran that's a cheaper option, and maybe someone that's been here before, like Deshaun Jackson, something like that, and then maybe go after somebody else in the wide receiver class here that's going to cost you less money. I just don't think that it makes sense for the Eagles to go out and spend that much money on Alshon Jeffrey when they have so many other holes to fill, and they could use that money in other spots.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I we're already a little strapped for cash this year, and I don't get me wrong, Howie's great with the cap and everything, but I just don't think you put all your so many eggs in one basket and spending so much money for Alshon Jeffrey when, like Mike said, there are so many holes to fill. I mean, Jeffrey made over $14 million last year on the franchise tag. The guy isn't going to take a pay cut. He's going to demand something probably $16 million a year minimum. He'll be like the highest paid receiver in the league, right up there with AJ Green. I mean, that's a lot of money, and this is a huge offseason where we got to really nail the free agency and the draft to address all our needs. And I just don't think it's feasible. This guy is one mistake away from missing 10 games. He did get a 4-game suspension for the PED last year, so second strike, you're out 10. So I just don't think it's best for our team this offseason with so many other needs we have, like Mike said.
Yeah, I keep going back and forth on this because here's the problem. The free agency class at wide receiver, it's kind of lacking. The draft class is kind of lacking. There's not too many guys. There's some people that are trying to say that Corey Davis can be a difference maker. I think he's okay, but I think there's been better options in years past. I think Mike Williams is the guy this year, and everyone else. I mean, there's some like John Ross is a solid option, but none of these guys are gonna really be that franchise type of guy. Maybe an Alshon Jeffrey can be. Like I think Alshon is very talented. This isn't an instance where I think he is legitimately a top 10 wide receiver in this league. I think he really is talented, and he could really make a big difference on this team. And so those are the positives. And then you look at the negatives. The negatives is, well, you do have an injury history. You have the PED history, and you're looking at potentially $16, $18 million a season for him. Is it worth it? So I don't know what I want to do. It's tough. It's not like 2004 when you got Terrell Owens and you were ready to win a Super Bowl and you hired him and you brought him in and you paid him. This is a little bit different situation. And yeah, there are a lot of holes to fill. I mean, I'm the one that's been saying it's going to take more than one offseason to fill all these holes. So like, if you don't bring Alshon Jeffrey in here, maybe you even wait until next offseason to really go after some, the wideouts. And this year you just kind of keep it low key and you just bring in Deshaun Jackson with like a Brian Quick or Kenny Stills or whoever the hell you want to bring in, pair him with. So that's, who knows?
Yeah, well, it was interesting because before the show, we were kind of wondering, what the ages were of some of these wide receivers that we're talking about. And, Jeremy had brought up Alshon Jeffrey, and I think we were kind of surprised to see that he's only 26 years old. I guess we kind of all just thought he was a bit older than that. So, knowing that he is 26 years old, essentially you could have him here, for a few years in his prime.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if they go out and they get a guy like Alshon Jeffrey, what that says to me is that they got to hit on these drafts then immediately. Because if you get a guy like Jeffrey, that means that you're going to be ready to win essentially now or within 2 or 3 years. So that means that they got to start drafting well. So, I mean, it seems like, this past year's draft, it's something to build off, but I think that they could have done better this year in the draft. Obviously, they got the main prize in Carson Wentz, but after that, some of their picks were maybe a little weak. So I think that really they're going to have to hit on these next, 2-3 drafts coming up. And hopefully Joe Douglas is that guy that can turn things around and really get Howie out of the draft room, because it's all going to be about the draft. And if they can't hit on the draft, then it's just going to be a recurring cycle where every year the Eagles are creating room in their salary cap to go out and spend big money in free agency, when that's not really what you want to do. Ideally, you want to draft well and then go out and get that one piece that you're missing in free agency. So all about the draft, and hopefully Douglas is the guy that can change that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just don't think this is the offseason to go make the big splash. I mean, all last offseason we spent so much money, a lot of money locking up our own guys, and also, bringing in other free agents, Brandon Brooks, and et cetera. I just think that, this isn't the right time. Like you guys said, build through the draft. You got Joe Douglas setting up the draft board, setting up the free agency list. I mean, with the cap situation in mind and looking ahead for the future, we're not looking at just this year. We're building something here, is how he always reiterated. We're building something. It's not a sprint. It's more like a cross country race. We're trying to get there in a couple of years, and build a solid foundation. You got Wentz. You got a couple of offensive linemen in the draft last year that showed some promise. So, you got your foundation. Build around them. Like you guys said, somebody like a Deshaun, Kenny Stills might be a cheaper option to free agency, and can't rule out like someone, Kamar Aiken, veteran who's in his late 20s, has connection to Joe Douglas, someone like that, or Brian Quick, do a bottom of the barrel free agent that would be really cheap, just to fill in the holes to this depleted wide receiver core we have.
I just made up my mind. I want him. I want him. I want him, because I just. For a brief couple of seconds, I just thought about Alshon, one of those back shoulder balls from Carson Wentz at the 20-yard line. I just came harder than I have in last week. So I want him now. It needs to happen. And I was just thinking about this too. A couple years ago, Jeremy Maclin, we didn't want to give him the extra $2 million. And look at what we've been since. We haven't had anybody. We haven't had one difference maker at wide receiver. So you know what? I want him. But at the same time, see, it comes with it's.
Now you're going back again.
I go back because I say this. All right, so I also don't want to get into a bidding war. There's a bar, there's a limit. I'm not going past. God, $18 million is a lot of money for a wide receiver, but I'm not going $20 million for him. I'm not going somewhere ridiculous. I'm not going that route. But if you can get him for 16, 18, I don't know. I want to do it. I don't care. As long as this is one of the lone splash you make this splash in free agency, you get rid of Connor Barwin, you get rid of whoever you want to get rid of to create the money, Ryan Matthews, Michael Kendricks, free up the money, sign Jeffrey, build through the draft, don't really make any other splashes like you did last year, and that's what I would do. Screw it. I want Alshon Jeffrey. I want him because he's going to bring excitement to Philadelphia. This is exciting. I want him. I want the big name.
Well, I mean, think about this. Carson Wentz, you get a guy, Dalvin Cook in the backfield, Alshon Jeffrey at receiver. I mean, now you're talking. So if you're able to go out in free agency and you just make that, if you make that one splash with Alshon Jeffrey, and then if you're able to go into the draft and able to get that running back for the future, then talk about upgrading the offense. I mean, that upgrades the offense dramatically, because then all of a sudden you get a guy like Alshon Jeffrey, Jordan Matthews is able to play the role that he's supposed to play, and that's a number 2 receiver. He doesn't have to be the star guy. All of a sudden, that opens up the field for him more, and then you'll see him blossom a little bit and become the guy that they kind of expected when they drafted. So it would be huge if they get a guy like Alshon Jeffrey. But like you said, they just got to make sure that they don't spend too much money for him. Don't go crazy. But I'm sure if they do strike a deal with Jeffrey, Roseman's going to probably do that thing where he tries to, backload the deal like he always does. So we'll see if Jeffrey falls for that trick.
It may not be as bad as it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys saying all that now. I mean, it's obviously. I'll take him. I mean, I'll take him off I'll take him off the free agency's hands. Obviously, I'll take him. All the pros are so nice to think about, and then if a piece happens to fall into place like Cook or Fournette in the backfield, and then just if he's the lone splash, I know how he can pull it off. I know he can do it. It's just Willie. I don't know. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey's only played 2 full seasons out of 5. He played 9 games, 16, 16, 10, and then had the suspension last year. So he's only played 2 out of 5 full seasons. Obviously it would be
not a huge risk. Definitely.
Yeah, it's a big risk, a big money risk. It's not a cheap risk. It's a very expensive risk.
Yeah.
Are we willing to make it? We'll see. Will it make our offense instantly 100% better? Yes. It'll open up things for Ertz, for Sproles. It'll open up Matthews. The whole offense, he's going to draw the coverage and leave people open underneath. And obviously he'll make the big plays too. So obviously you can see the pros. But, yeah, it's the positives are great. It's also a big risk. It's going to be interesting to see how plays out. And now, the whole drama with the Mike Groh connection, it's now it's all coming together. But, we'll see if we're willing to spend the money, like guys like Barwin, maybe Kelsey, Michael Kendricks, these guys are going to probably have to be gone in order to make this move.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish you could use coupons in free agency, buy one, get one free. Get Alshon, pair him up with Sean, buy one, get one free. That would be amazing. Yeah, I just keep thinking about it because, all right, so here's what they tried to do last year. Last year is where they tried to do the cheaper route. Now last year there weren't any good wide receiver free agents. Like Mohamed Sanu was like the big name, and he went to Atlanta and had a big year for them. We went with Ruben Randall and Chris Givens. We went really low on the totem pole thinking we could, find a gem, and they got cut before the season. So it's like, all right, you want to bring in some low-key names, but do I really have trust in Howie Roseman that he can bring in the proper guy? I sure as hell don't. So, I don't know. It's a high risk, but again, I'm starting to lean. Yeah, I'm starting to lean. Yeah. I'm doing it. I don't care.
It would be sexy.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd get his jersey. I'd rub my nipples.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking of the water boy right now. Farmer Fred, whatever his name is.
Oh yeah. Farmer Fran.
There you go.
Oh,
okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's not like cornerback at wide receiver. See, cornerbacks in the draft, there's so many of them, and so like that's part of my thinking. It's not like you have a huge crop, and I don't know. Call me crazy. I want Alshon Jeffrey. Just do it. I don't want to know how much we pay him. Like I don't even like when the ESPN ticker on the bottom shows how much he got. I don't even want to look. I don't. Just bring him in here. I don't care what the cost is. Just do it. I don't care. Just do it. Sometimes we overthink this shit. You just bring him in. He's a great weapon. You pair him with Carson. Oh my God, they're gonna all of a sudden start scoring points. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, the Eagles did play the Bears earlier this season, so I'm sure that Alshon Jeffrey, he was watching from the Bears sideline. He saw what was going on. He knows what Carson Wentz can do, so I'm sure he would like to be, paired up with a quarterback like him instead of having a guy like Jay Cutler back there. So, like you said, it would be a hell of a move. And, it's one of these things. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey, he's not a guy that just – is out there in free agency all the time. It doesn't happen when you have this quality of a wide receiver on the free agent market. So knowing that the Eagles, well, and the rest of the league too, has a shot at him, I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah, last year the draft was like rich with offensive linemen. I mean, obviously we got Carson first, but it was O-line heavy, and that happened to be like a big need for us last year. We got a couple guys that got experience last year, Sam Alu and Vaitai. I mean, they show they can handle it, and they're going to be pieces of this offensive line for the future. And this year, it's really heavy in corner, and that happens to be our biggest need. So, with that line of thought, it would make sense. Obviously our other glaring need is wide receiver, and Mike Williams is 90% chance he's going top 10, so we won't be able to get him unless we have to trade up, and we're not going to trade more of our draft picks away. So, in that thinking, maybe we do make the big splash and get the wide receiver need, and then just draft your corner, or if someone like Cook or Fournette happen to drop in the first round. So maybe, now I think about it that way, maybe.
Stop saying maybe. Just say yes. Give in. It's okay. It's okay. Just give in. It's all right.
Yeah.
All right. Let me spit this at you now. Let me convince you guys even further. All right. So he's 26 years old. He would basically be in the prime of his career throughout his duration of his contract, I guess. But even when he gets to say 30, 31, think about the way he plays the game. He's not like a burner like Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson, I would be scared about after he's 30. But a guy like Alshon Jeffrey, he doesn't run fast. He's a guy that boxes out defenders and makes contested catches. And you don't have to be fast for that. So at 31 years old, I think he can still do that kind of stuff. Like Vincent Jackson. All right, so not that they're the same kind of receiver, but Vincent Jackson still produces at his age. And part of it is because he's a guy that can make contested catches. You look at a guy like Anquan Bolden. Bolden's like a big, kind of stronger type of guy, and he's been able to last long. So I think Jeffrey has the type of skill set where when he is 31 years old and he is at the end of that contract, I think he can still produce. So, you know what, man? Just do it. Just do it. Just lock him up, bring in the Philly, and just don't even think about it. Just do it. Do it. Do it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would be nice to have a receiver that fights for the ball, because obviously we don't have any of that on our roster right now. We have guys that are afraid of the football. So just having a wide receiver that can make a normal catch would be nice. And obviously Jeffrey can do that. But like you said, he also uses his big body to his advantage. So that would help out Carson a lot. But yeah, I agree with you. Definitely. It is those speedy guys that you have to worry about when they get older. That's like when we talk about a guy like Deshaun Jackson, that's a guy who would just kind of be a guy that he would almost be a Band-Aid that you would take for, 2 to 3 years.
And they don't want any more Band-Aids.
They don't want any more Band-Aids. But if that's the route they go, then what that would say is that they're probably going to try to draft somebody at some point. But if they go with a guy like Alshon Jeffrey, then they wouldn't necessarily have to draft someone so high in the draft. They could get a wide receiver in the later rounds of the draft and really start to fill the other needs that they have on the team. So it's going to be very interesting. I mean, if they go with Jeffrey, I'll tell you what, it'll definitely increase the excitement level for this offense and Carson Wentz.
Adrian, I think you convinced me.
Yes.
I think you did it. It's funny you brought up the speed guys, and when they get older, I mean, Deshaun is 30. He is at that 30 mark right now. Turned 31 towards the end of the year. But yeah, I mean, Alshon, he'll be 27 by the time the season starts, but he'll be in his prime. It'll probably be a 5-year deal for money. I don't want to see how much it is.
5 years, like preposterous.
Something preposterous. 5 year, I don't know.
5-year, $80 million.
5-year, 80.
I don't know. Something nuts.
Wow. Yeah, that's so much. Yeah, well, that's 15. It's 15 a year, but I don't know. Uh, I just say just do it.
It's hard. Yeah, it's like
It's there's yeah, but then watch him get a PED suspension, then we're fucked.
yeah, it's the injury history that, and it is a lot of money. It really is. It's not easy, but it's like just like just let it go. Just let it go. Just let it happen. That's the way I think about it. All right, let's see. All right, I'll throw one more name out there, and then we'll do final thoughts. Josh Gordon, yay or nay?
Yeah, well, this is something we kind of talked about before the show, and I think it would have to be one of those things where it would really be like a 1-year prove it type of deal. You don't really want to throw that much money at Josh Gordon with the past that he's had. So yeah, it would really have to be something where it's a 1-year kind of a minimum type of deal where he goes out and proves it. I mean, obviously everyone knows that he's got all the talent in the world. He's just his worst nightmare off the field. So it's just a matter of him staying on the field. I mean, if he was able to stay on the field and somehow we got him and we gave him a 1-year prove it type of deal, the problem after that would be then he would want a boatload of money. So then you would run into an issue. But if it was only 1 year and not that much money, then I think you maybe take a risk on it. So that's how I stand there.
Yeah, I'm right in the same boat. I mean, he does have all the talent in the world, but I mean, he's not even reinstated in the NFL yet. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, you obviously can't throw a lot of money at him. Even if you, like Mike said, even if you do throw a 1-year deal at him for cheap money and he does go and prove it, great. We have a successful year, but then, you're not going to want to pay him all that money for the big contract because he'll just take a crap in the next year because he's got paid and he'll get back on the drugs again. It's just how he'll roll. So yeah, I would probably avoid that, and I think the Eagles are thinking the same thing. The Eagles are either going to go Alshon or they're going to not. They're going to get a couple little pieces like maybe a Brian Quick, Kamar Aiken with a Deshaun and or Kenny Still, some sort of combination of those.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I think Alshon's the big name. If they don't go Alshon, then they'll go Deshaun and somebody else. I don't see Josh Gordon either. I just stay away from him. That's really all it is. Maybe you do a 1-year prove it cut type of deal, but then it's like you're at the same position you're at right now next year, where instead of paying Alshon Jeffrey, you're paying Josh Gordon. So I just whatever. Just go after Alshon. That's it. All right, final thoughts time. What do you guys have to say?
Man, final thoughts, I guess, really just as far as being, a diehard football fan, really been disappointed with the playoffs here. Really disappointing. We haven't had really many good games, maybe 1-2 good games. Besides that, it's been pretty bad. I mean, obviously, the game that stands out is that Packers-Cowboys game, but besides that, really haven't had anything to get excited about. And the Super Bowl, should be pretty exciting, but I think it's not the Super Bowl that the NFL wanted. I don't, as far as the, a casual fan goes, someone that doesn't really watch football that much, I don't think they're going to be, that tuned in because, yeah, obviously, the Patriots, they're well known and everything, but the Falcons were the team that just kind of ran under the radar the whole time throughout the playoffs, which is, quite shocking considering they were the number 2 seed and they ran under the radar all the way up until the Super Bowl. Now people are finally starting to talk about them. So, pretty wild stuff there.
Yeah, it has been a disappointing playoffs. I mean, there was one good game, literally, which was a very exciting game, the Packers-Cowboys. I'm pulling for I'm pulling for Matty Ice, the local kid. I mean, their offense, it is interesting that they've flown so low under the radar. Their offense is dynamic. They put up points, and I mean, they were up 31-0. I mean, the Packers were just completely gassed after that. Beating the Cowboys, that was like their Super Bowl almost, and then they had nothing left and travel into a hostile environment. Atlanta, a team, they were really hot. I mean, I hope I hope it's a really good Super Bowl. I hope Atlanta wins, but in the end, I just see Tom Brady pulling away with it in the Super Bowl. One team to get excited about recently is the Sixers. Joel Embiid and his larger than life personality and one of a kind do it all skill set on the floor. He's brought an excitement to basketball right just in time after the Flyers after their winning streak, they've really struggled just in time. The Sixers started to get hot in January. So, you've had something to watch in this month.
Yeah, raise the cap, baby. So both of you guys have pretty much, kind of brought up points that I've had on prior shows. If you guys want to know about my thoughts on the Falcons, you can watch the recap show we did yesterday. I did with James. Basically, it is crazy because everybody was talking about Aaron Rodgers' streak at the end of the year and how the Packers finished hot. Well, the Falcons are right there. Matt Ryan was put up basically the same numbers as Aaron Rodgers. Nobody was talking about it. They were putting up points and kicking everyone's ass. No one was talking about it. They've scored touchdowns on 8 straight opening possessions. They get up to these huge leads. The offense is a machine. Nobody talks about it. I think they got a great shot against the Patriots. Do I think they're going to win? Probably not, but I think it'll be a really good Super Bowl. And I'm in agreement with Mike, man. Nobody's talking about the Super Bowl, but it's going to be a good one. And I think, Falcons, man, that's a really good team, and that's a defense that is getting younger and it's on the rise. Because that was the big problem in Atlanta was, sure, you had a great offense, but you didn't have a defense, and it's still they still don't have a great defense, but it's emerging. You got young pieces. Deion Jones, Desmond Trufant, you got your lockdown corner, Vic Beasley. I mean, you can just go on and on and on. They had a great draft last year. It's like people talk about how they think we had a good draft. We had an okay draft. But you look at the Falcons draft, you look at the Dallas draft. Like Howie Roseman talks about wanting to be a team with a bye. Okay, you want to be a team with a bye, then draft like them. All right, Howie, draft like them. We finally have like one okay draft in like the past 5 years, and everyone's overreacting. Our draft wasn't like that good. It was okay. But Dallas, you got Ezekiel Elliott, you got Dak Prescott, you got Anthony Brown, a 6th-round guy at cornerback who's starting for them. Malik Collins is a beast, better than anything we drafted besides Carson Wentz. He went in the 3rd round. They drafted so many guys. And we draft we're like, oh yeah, well Wendell Smallwood was okay, and Big V looked okay, and Jalen Mills for a 7th-round rookie, oh my god, and like come on, makes me sick. Oh, Isaac Seumalo, yeah. It was an okay draft. All right, let's not overreact to it. Jeez.
Yeah,
compared to
I agree with you. But speaking of the Falcons, I'm happy for Matt Ryan because he's the guy that he finally deserves a shot at this Super Bowl. I've always been a fan of his. I thought he's always been really a tremendous quarterback. Yeah, but like you're saying, I mean, the problem with the Falcons has always been he's never had the defense. So he's gotten to the playoffs, and his defense would fail him, and it would all fall apart for him. So he never got that shot to go to the Super Bowl. So now, and that's the thing, and so many people overlook the Falcons because they weren't looking at their defense. They were looking at the offensive side of the ball, and they just kind of overlooked that defense. And the defense really stepped up big in that game against the Packers, and they showed that, they're for real and they're ready to take a step here into the Super Bowl against the Patriots. And there really would be nothing better to see them take down, Tom Brady and the Patriots. But it's going to be a hell of a task. I mean, really, that game, the biggest matchup is going to be how the Patriots defend Julio Jones, because if the Patriots are able to, take away Julio Jones like they took away Antonio Brown, then it's going to be really tough for the Falcons to produce some offense. Obviously, they got two good running backs that can get the job done. But besides that, on offense, they could have some challenges if Julio Jones is shut down.
Yeah, Matt Ryan, the last 6 games, 18 touchdowns, no interceptions. So same numbers that Rodgers was putting up, and nobody talking about Matt Ryan. It's going to be a great Super Bowl, I think. I think it's going to be a close game, but ultimately I see both offenses will be able to can score points. I just see the Patriots defense playing a little better and has more veterans on that defense, and the Patriots defense will be the difference in this game.
Yeah. All right. So that's about it. Just even thinking about Alshon Jeffrey really quick before we go. It'd be nice if you could backload the deal, but at the same time, when you look at the Fletcher Cox situation, that's why it took so long for that contract to materialize, because you do want your money up front. So you got to figure out a way where he gets his money up front, he gets his guaranteed money, but at the same time, you can still backload it so you can get out of the contract in case you still want to get out of it or whatever. So it's a sticky situation, but you know what? Just do it. Don't look back. That's the way I think about it. I don't care. For Mike Owens, Jeremy Burton, I'm Adrian Fedq. Later, guys.
Later.